I've decided to make this video because I post a lot about mental health on my YouTube channel and on my other like social medias. I talk about it a lot in my real life. I talk about it a lot. I'm quite a big like advocate for, you know, awareness and acceptance and education surrounding mental health, all that sort of good stuff. And I feel like I don't have to make this video, right? I'm not some big famous YouTuber and people are like asking me loads of questions and I feel like I have to make this video to explain to all of my beloved fans, right? That's not the situation. I think it's more of a thing in my head. Like, if I am talking about mental health all the time, on my Instagram, I'm always reposting pictures and quotes to my story to do with body image or eating disorders, because I follow a lot of Instagram accounts that are like, you know, promoting positive stuff when it comes to that. And in real life conversations with real life people, like my friends and family, I kind of advocate for the same thing. And I feel almost a little bit fraudulent at times. It's not a case of me not believing the things I'm sharing or talking about. It's just a case of I have relapsed into my eating disorder and not many people have noticed, and I've not told many people. For those of you that don't know, here's a super quick explanation. I developed an eating disorder when I was 15 years old in 2011. I had therapy for it at an eating disorder clinic in 2015, so I was 18 when I had that, and I was diagnosed with EDNOS, which stands for eating disorder not otherwise specified, so it's not one of the most common ones. After having this therapy in 2015, I made really good progress for about a year, maybe just over a year maybe, and I considered myself pretty much recovered. I think I was like just playing around with it, because I'd been saying for that year after having therapy, I was like, I'm in recovery. I'm actively trying to recover, which I was doing really well. And then I think, you know, after a year and a little bit, I was sort of playing with, am I recovered? Am I fully recovered? Can I say that? I said I was going to make this super quick and it's not. A couple of things happened in late 2016 that sort of sent me on like a downward spiral. I didn't immediately snap back into severe eating disorder behaviours, but I definitely wasn't actively trying to recover anymore. And for about 6 to 9 months, I was slowly spiralling downwards until the summer of 2017, where I fully relapsed. I did speak about this in a YouTube video earlier this year, and I was saying how kind of easy it is to hide a relapse once people already think you're in recovery or recovered. Once you come out and say, I had an eating disorder, had past tense, people are like, oh, you're better now. And so they're not on the lookout. So like I said, in the summer of 2017, I had quite a bad relapse for a few months. And then after that, around autumn time of 2017, it got a little bit better. I wouldn't say I was actively in recovery because I wasn't really trying. So, you know, therefore also I wasn't recovered by any means. But I was just sort of maintaining things. It wasn't as bad as it had been in the summer or it had been years previously. And it was just kind of in this weird, I've not got a great relationship with food, but I'm not as bad as I have been previously. It was just this weird sort of limbo. And that state continued until this year, 2019. And I don't know if I would describe this year as another relapse, because that would imply between this year and 2017, I was well, which I wasn't. So I think I would probably describe it as in 2019, I just got really bad again. Like I hit like a particularly low point with my eating disorder again. It is not fun. When you have an eating disorder that isn't straightforward, and when I say that, I'm not trying to say disorders like anorexia is a straightforward disorder. Obviously, every eating disorder is very complex. But what I'm trying to say is people typically know the symptoms of anorexia. People don't typically know the symptoms of EDNOS. So when you have an eating disorder like that, it's very easy to feel overlooked and like people aren't paying attention. It's also very easy to feel overlooked when you have an eating disorder but you're not thin. My eating disorder tells me that I am not valuable unless I am thin. It tells me I am not worth recovery until I am thin. It tells me I have to get to a certain weight or a certain size before I can start recovery. It tells me that if I start recovery at the weight I am now, people won't believe me when I say I had an eating disorder, because I don't have pictures of me in a hospital bed with a feeding tube. I don't have pictures of me completely emaciated like a lot of people on the internet who have suffered from eating disorders do. See these videos on YouTube of people telling their eating disorder stories, and in the thumbnail you have an extremely unwell, skinny girl. I don't have that because that wasn't my experience, and my eating disorder tells me that people won't believe me until I look like that. My eating disorder convinces me that it's not as bad as it is. My eating disorder convinces me that there's no way out, that there's no way to get better, that I'll be stuck in this state forever. All of these things that I'm telling you make it extremely hard for me to commit to recovery. And I think probably the biggest thing in my mind that I'm hesitant about the most is I should be thinner than I am if I want to start recovery. It's not bad enough until I'm skinny, and that's probably the biggest thing that puts me off from committing to recovery. Eating disorders are becoming more talked about, and I think that's great, but I think we have a long way to go because there's still so much stigma and assumptions made about it. Like, I made a video earlier this year where I spoke about having a psychiatric assessment, and I was speaking to the clinician, telling her I'm really struggling with my eating disorder, and she told me that I was doing well because I was maintaining my weight. She had no possible way of knowing that whether I was doing well or not, and I was actually saying the words to her, I'm really struggling, and she dismissed it. And I thoroughly believe, is that the right word to use? I really believe that happened because I am not skinny. People don't believe you unless you're skinny. I don't think I've ever seen a video of someone deciding to recover, actually making that commitment and taking that step. I've heard people talk about it afterwards. I've heard people talk about it before when they're in the depths of their eating disorder. So I wanted to make this video partly because I wanted to show kind of the thoughts I'm having and my emotions when I'm making this step, because I think sometimes people think it's very easy to just recover. It's just something you decide to do, or maybe you're forced into hospital and then they wave a magic wand and you're recovered. But no, it's very hard. I don't want to. Like, I don't want to, and I particularly don't want to, just because I remember how much hard work I had to put in when I had that period of a year and a half of doing so well in recovery. That wasn't a walk in the park. I had to put in so much hard work. I would ring my mom in the evenings telling her everything I've eaten that day and saying, I'm still hungry, is it okay if I eat something else? Because I didn't trust myself, I didn't trust my body. In the actual therapy, like the therapy sessions themselves, I'm pretty sure I cried in every single one. And I think when you have a relapse, people think, well, you've got the tools there. You were once ill, then you got better, and now you've had a relapse. But don't worry, because you've got the tools from before. And while that is true, I have the knowledge from therapy all those years ago, and I'm looking at this slightly from a different angle, a slightly more knowledgeable angle. it's still fucking hard. The reason I'm deciding to recover, even saying that makes me upset, because I'll talk about this in a little bit, but I don't want to let go of my eating disorder. I'll come back to that because that's a whole nother thing. The thing that's making me want to commit to this is because I'm fucking sick of it. I'm sick of hating my body, like hating it with a passion. Just looking at it in the mirror, picking it apart. I'm sick of having headaches when I don't eat enough. I'm sick of having stomach aches when I eat too much. I am so tired of all of that, and I just want to have a normal, healthy relationship with food. Oh, damn it. I'm sick of being obsessed with food. The only way it's gonna stop is if I choose to do the hard work, like I have done before, and choose recovery. It's also, like I said before, I don't want to put in that hard work. Number one, because it's hard emotionally. Number two, I'm so attached to my eating disorder. It's been with me for 8 years, on and off, obviously. Sometimes I'm not sure like what life would be like without it. That sounds so stupid. It sounds stupid because I know it would be better, but I don't know how I'd go about my day. I don't know what type of thoughts would fill up my head. I will be a different person. And I do remember in 2015, 2016, when I was in recovery in a good place with food, I remember that I was happy. And I remember even back then, there were times when I really did miss my eating disorder. I actually heard about a childhood friend of mine who had been hospitalised with anorexia, and she had to be put on a feeding tube. When I was told that, I just burst into tears, like within like a second of hearing it. I was so sad for her. And then a few hours after, I started thinking like, I'm in recovery, but I was never as bad as she was. So do I really deserve recovery? It's really a weird way of thinking. I can imagine some people are confused by that, but that is what I thought. Another reason for wanting to make this video is kind of holding myself accountable, and it's admitting that I have actually been unwell, because there are times, like I've said throughout this video, there are times when I convince myself I'm not. I think through making this video and committing to recovery, that's me kind of saying I haven't been well this year, I haven't been well for a couple of years. And it's one of those things where if you say you're going to do something and you make it public, you kind of try and hold yourself up to that. And I also just think it's completely stupid and pointless of me to have a channel about mental health and me to not talk about this. Like, what's the point? I hope that some people who are in the exact same position as me right now, sort of teetering on the edge of making a commitment to recovery, I hope that this video has made you feel validated. I hope I've vocalised some of the thoughts that you're having in your head, so you know that you're not alone. And I hope that you make the decision with me to recover. So my next few steps after making this video is to try and get some therapy specifically targeted for eating disorders, maybe at an eating disorder clinic again, because I think I need it. I want to try and document this experience of recovering as best I can. Like I said before, I see a lot of people on the internet talking about recovery once they're sort of past it, not while they're actively doing the work, and them sharing their experiences is still a valuable thing. But I think I want to create videos talking about actively being in recovery. I think I want to do a roundup every month, a video at the end of each month talking about how it's been that month, including clips from it. I think that could possibly be helpful. I've also decided I'm going to try one new food a week, whether that's a new meal at a restaurant or an exotic fruit that I buy at a market. I want to be excited about food again, and I want to start eating intuitively. Thank you for watching to the end of this video. I know it's a little bit different than my other videos. I'm talking a bit softer, but thank you for watching to the end of it. I appreciate it a lot. And stay tuned if you want to see the progress I make in eating disorder recovery, because by the end of 2020, So next year, this time next year, I'm gonna be in a good place with food. I'm putting that out there into the universe right now. See you later, bye.